Hello, my friends. Coach Leah here. I'm MoneyWise Mom, and I help busy adults like you take control of their finances because the struggle is real. And today, what we're going to do, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to share a story about a trip to the ER that turned into a miracle healing, and we're also going to talk about the importance of a health savings account and how that can help add extra peace of mind. If you don't know what a health savings account is, you're in the right place because we're going to talk about it today. I'm going to explain what it is and how it can help you as an emergency plan for medical expenses. So we're going to talk about all that today. And for those of you who may be new to this channel, first of all, I'd love to have you join this community. So please hit the subscribe button. But if you're new, you may not know that part of my journey to becoming a financial coach was a departure from corporate America, and God called me out. And I took that step of obedience. And so it'd be a disservice if I don't talk about all the cool stuff God's doing in my life on this journey. So that's a little bit of what I'm going to share in the ER story today. My husband ended up in the ER a couple days ago, but turned into the coolest testimony of healing. So let's start with that because I'm on cloud nine because of what happened. A couple days ago, my husband called me, and Bobby's hanging out here. That's my cat, Bobby. He's hanging out for the story today. But we ended up in the ER, my husband did, because it started off with a sharp pain, and he wasn't able to sleep one night. He had to sleep sitting up in a chair because the pain was so uncomfortable. And he's got a pretty high tolerance for pain, so the fact that he was telling me this was going on kind of made me think that this was an unusual situation he might be dealing with. So as the day progressed, he told me that he was going to take a trip to urgent care just to check things out. That led to a trip to the regular hospital just to get an x-ray because the urgent care he was at didn't have the ability to do x-rays. On the 5-minute trip from the urgent care to the local hospital, he almost had to pull over in so much pain in his side and his stomach and his back. It was taking his breath away. So he decided to just walk right into the ER and get checked out. And they brought him right into an exam room because they saw how uncomfortable and in pain he was. So by the time I got there, first I went to the wrong hospital in the franticness. I'm sure you all can relate. So I ended up in hospital in the wrong town, wrong city. I had to scoot back over to meet him at the one he was actually at. And by the time I got there, shortly after, the doctors were kind of trying to do an assessment saying, we think it could be this. Sounds like a kidney stone based on what he was describing. And they said it could be a collapsed lung because my husband's taller, and sometimes, for whatever reason, the symptoms he was presenting can also indicate a partial collapsed lung. So the doctor's like, let's get an x-ray, let's get a CT scan. The x-ray will show if anything's wrong with your lungs. The CT scan will show if anything is going on with kidney stones very clearly and definitively. So as we're getting set up for the tests, as my husband's getting the tests scheduled, they bring him a cup of water because they also need other samples. So they said, here you go, have some water. He took a few sips, and literally it felt like within the minute or 2 minutes, he went into the cycle of the excruciating pain he was feeling again. And I had never seen him in that kind of pain before. I didn't know what to do. So I just put hands on him and started praying and asking God to help him take away the pain. Sent a message out to some friends of ours who are prayer warriors. So they were all praying over him. And he couldn't even get up to go to the test because the pain was so bad. They said, well, we need to get you to a place where you can at least stand up and go to the x-ray or go to the CT scan. So as all that was happening, he finally got to a point. They gave him some very light pain medication to help with the acute pain. It was non-narcotic. All that to say, a few hours goes by. It's the ER, so it takes a while for everything to play out. And we were coming up on midnight, and the doctors had switched shifts. So a new doctor came in, and he said, I have to ask you why you're here, to my husband, because all your tests came back and there's not a single thing that we can tell is wrong with you. We don't understand what is causing the pain that you're saying you have. And then my husband described the situation where he drank some water earlier to this new doctor. The doctor's like, well, why don't you try it? see if it happens again since you're here. Because we were looking at each other like, well, that's more concerning that you don't know what it is, and to go home and possibly go through all that again and have to come back. The doctor's like, well, let's test it before we send you home. So my husband drinks this big cup of water, and I'm putting the timer on thinking like, by the time the doctor comes back, I want it to be able to say, hey, 2 minutes after you left, he went into excruciating pain again. So we weren't crazy. And the doctor did leave. He said, I'll come back in a little bit so you can give it some time. Make sure you're really okay before you go home. So the timer goes by, 2 minutes goes by, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and my husband was in no pain. So we're looking at each other baffled because the doctor's like, we don't see anything. Are you in pain anymore? And by the time all that happened, my husband was like, no, I'm not. So when we started realizing what was happening, what was taking place, it was a healing, because all signs were pointing to kidney stones. He was in excruciating pain for 2 days, increasing pain for 2 days. He couldn't even sleep laying down. He couldn't lay down in the hospital bed when we were there. And in that time that everybody was praying and I put hands on him, the evidence of anything was gone. The tests came back completely perfect. They said they took all the blood tests that would indicate something that I don't know all the medical jargon, but the doctor spit off all these different things they were looking for in the blood test and the urine test. They're like, there's nothing. He's like, I can't justify even keeping you here, honestly, because there's nothing wrong with you. And so we were kind of looking at each other stunned, thinking, okay, is this a miracle that we're witnessing, a healing? Because he ended up back at work. He almost slept through his alarm. He slept so well that night. Obviously, he didn't have a lot of sleep. Back at work at 7 a.m., no problem. We can't explain it. I'm going to say it was prayer and healing, because we prayed into it and we believe that we have a miracle working God. So I just want to share that with you, because part of this journey is bringing God into all your life, not just the finances, but this weaves into the financial piece of it. Because when my husband called me, the first thing I'm thinking before we knew what was going on, we're going to transition to the HSA conversation, health savings account. I'm thinking, thank goodness we have savings set aside if he ends up in surgery tonight. We do have health insurance, which we have not hit our deductible, which is the amount we have to pay before health insurance starts kicking in and helping. So chances were we were going to have to cover a majority of whatever this expense ends up being. We're still going to have to pay for urgent care in the ER visit and all the tests that they did. But it's such a different experience when you know that you have money set aside for this. So let's talk about what a health savings account is, for those of you who may not have heard that term before. It's also called an HSA, health savings account. This is for those of you, if you have what's called a high-deductible health plan, which means your premiums, the monthly expense that you pay to carry health insurance, those are your monthly premiums, kind of like car insurance. You pay a premium every month to have the coverage. If you use the coverage, you still have to pay an initial amount, a deductible, and then insurance kicks in. It's this whole system that frustrates me, but that's how it works. So we opt for a lower monthly expense, lower premium. In exchange for, we do have to pay a higher deductible. So it means that we pay more upfront than the insurance kicks in. But the offset is our monthly expense is lower. So they kind of wash out. If not, it's more favorable for us. And the reason why we do that is because we don't have underlying health issues. If you have underlying health issues where you're at the doctor a lot, you might want to consider the regular plan where you pay a little more every month, but the coverage is better. So you have to decide what's right for you and your family, but a great option if you're to consider. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not advising you to do this. I'm giving you information, which I love to share information because knowledge is power. Consider if you're just going for your regular preventative care and you're not getting, huge bills because you don't have prescriptions, you just you kind of check the box on the preventative care, which is covered anyway. This could be a good option for you, but you want to stay disciplined and save. Now that you have freed up some money in your cash flow every month, you want to save some extra because it's your job to save so that you can cover your deductible when that time comes, because you can't predict the future. We can take an educated guess, but that's oftentimes the best you can do is take an educated guess. We're taking an educated guess that our standard medical expenses each year are going to be pretty low. If something changes, then we will make a new decision. And this is great timing because a lot of you are in the period where your employers have the open enrollment and you're choosing health plans. Didn't even put that together. Timing's perfect. Ours is in the open enrollment right now. We're revisiting all these decisions ourselves. So when you have a high deductible health plan, you qualify to have a health savings account. It's a tax favored. There's a triple tax advantage with a health savings account. For this purpose, they want to encourage you and help you to save for medical expenses. The triple tax advantage is 1, you can put it in tax-free. 2, it grows tax-free. And 3, you can spend it tax-free as long as it's on qualified medical expenses. That's the caveat. If you spend it on something that it's not qualified for as a medical expense, you will have to pay taxes on that. So keep that in mind. But this is an awesome way to save. You can think of this even as a medical retirement account. You know the idea of compound growth, your interest earns interest. So every year, the interest you earn gets rolled into the big nest egg of your health savings account, and that money now earns interest. A bigger ball of money earns interest. So it has this compounding effect that can be really powerful in retirement. There's a lot of people who, it took me years before I connected those dots, that this is a very powerful tool to save for future medical expenses too. What's the trick? You have to be disciplined and put money into it. A lot of times employers will also contribute. Our employer, my husband's employer, because that's where we have our health insurance coverage through, they put a certain amount in every year. So they're contributing. Some employers will contribute only if you do. Some will contribute no matter what, as long as you have a health savings account. Look into it. See what your options are. And it gave us such peace of mind. I'll speak for myself. It gave me such peace of mind knowing that if there was an emergency situation, we had funds to help offset it. I wasn't worried about if we had enough money on a credit card to pay for it or if we were going to have to go into debt to cover it. Your health savings account is an emergency account for medical expenses. And it might take a little bit up front. Another trick, a practical application to build that amount up is you want to think about, do I have enough in there to cover my deductible for the year? So say you have a $2,500 deductible. It means that you have to pay the first $2,500 of expenses before the insurance will kick in based on whatever coverage you opt for. Do you have $2,500 in your health savings account? How long will it take you to get there? Is there something you can do to fast forward that and then maintain that in the following years and grow that in the following years? You can consider putting tax money that you get for a refund in there. If you get an extra paycheck in the year, that's another way that you can accelerate your savings in your health savings account. When you're thinking about where this fits into the big picture, this is not in replacement of your emergency fund. You still want to think about having $1,000 buffer, cash, liquid, easy to access for anything. This is nice to have for medical expenses, but it doesn't supersede the need for, which means it doesn't take a top priority over an emergency savings for just any day surprises. When Murphy's Law shows up, that's still a priority. Get $1,000. Jump into the description. I have a freebie that shows you how to squeeze extra savings out of your paycheck so that you can free up money to save for these things. Then you're going to be attacking debt. But if you have the opportunity to save, this can be an additional savings that your employer can help you accomplish. So think about that. If you're not taking advantage of that, maybe you want to make a plan to take advantage of that. Maybe if it's not this year, it's next year. Maybe you're checking out, seeing how much of your medical expense you're utilizing. Maybe you're overpaying for your healthcare coverage. If you're paying hand over fist for monthly premiums and you're getting all the free coverage that every single one of your healthcare, your health insurance plans will cover, maybe you're paying for more coverage than you guys are utilizing. Or if you're single, if you're family, that's your homework. Look at your medical coverage from your employer, and it's called an explanation of benefits. They are a monthly, your annual plan description. You can ask your HR department for it. Say, hey, can I get the booklet that describes all of our medical benefits? It's easy to roll it over every year and just keep checking the same box and picking the same option. But this is one area where you can free up some extra cash flow that you might not have realized was making you feel a little more pinched than it needs to be. So take a look at it. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What are you contemplating? Are there any changes you've made in your healthcare coverage? This is a community where we want to share with each other and learn from each other. And we help each other by sharing what you're going through. That's why I wanted to share a real life experience, how that transitioned into something practical and financial, because that's life, right? This isn't just a spreadsheet in theory. This is life in action. And I want to help you make practical decisions, get information in your hands that will help you make informed decisions so that you can take control of your finances and prioritize what matters most. I want you to be able to live a more fulfilling and purpose-driven life, to be able to step into something bigger maybe that God put on your heart. How do you start positioning yourself for that? Is by freeing up cash to maybe buy your time back. This was my journey. I started freeing up my debt, setting myself up with emergency savings so I didn't have to go back into debt, so that I could afford to make decisions that I wanted to make. I bought my time back. I took a pay cut to take Fridays off as part of that journey. That could be some options for you. Maybe you want to travel more. This is part of those decisions. It's these mundane, everyday decisions that add up over time. So take the time, spend a night, turn it into kind of a date night maybe. I don't know if talking about healthcare feels like a date night, but be intentional about carving time out to look through it. And if you have questions, even drop them in the comments. If you have questions, I'm not a healthcare expert on all things, but I know enough to be dangerous. I've worked in the healthcare field. I loved teaching about this at my last employer as part of financial literacy education. So I nerd out on this stuff. So if this is a place where you feel comfortable asking questions, please do. And I'll try to get answers for you if I don't know. So that's all I've got for today. I hope you guys go out there, have a great one, and get after it. It's not always easy, but it is always worth it. That's all for now. Hope you have a great day. Love you.